All right then, without further ado, I would like to ask Rotarian Byron Bangart to come and introduce our guest speaker. Byron.
Thank you, Joy. I don't have a lot of green shirts in my wardrobe, but I felt I had to wear something green today. I'm a quarter Irish. My paternal grandmother was Nora Hughes from County Mayo, so I'm pleased to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And I'm also pleased to be introducing our guest speaker today, John Linnemeier, who is a lifelong resident of Bloomington and a graduate of Indiana University with a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees. I first made John's acquaintance as a contestant in the Vital Quiz Bowl. A little plug here, the Vital Quiz Bowl begins on April 13th, and we will be fielding another team. So look for us on the 13th of April. John and his distinguished Linnemeier family comprised the team that was called the Bolivian Parrotheads, or some Eggheads. But I think they changed the name somewhere along the way. It started out as Eggheads, I believe, and then it became Parrotheads. But anyway, a very highly competitive team that often made it into the final round. So with his 2 brothers and his sister-in-law, they were a powerful team in the Vital Quiz Bowl. John is also a veteran of the Vietnam War, where he was shot twice. Over the last 6 years, he has made 2 trips back to Vietnam to build bridges of understanding and affection with the same men and women who had so vigorously fought against him and his fellow American comrades. John has worn a suit and tie every working day for the VA in Indianapolis as a vocational educational specialist and Department of Defense, and the Department of Defense in Germany, where he was in charge of the education center at Fegelweh, Germany. In addition, John was a member of the United Steelworkers in Gary, Indiana, where he worked attaching bundles of steel rods beneath an overhead crane at Republic Steel. He has worked on an oil platform in the Persian Gulf and an iron ore mine in the Northern Territories of Australia, where he was employed as a powder monkey and an air track driller. In short, he's had a very, very varied and unusual life history and work history. And he's also had a very unusual experience in traveling around the world. He's been in at least 115 different countries. He has documented some of that travel in a book he wrote called How an Average Man Lived an Adventurous Life. And I actually discovered this book when I was at Bloomington Paint and Wallpaper, and it was on the counter there being offered for sale. And there's a connection between John and Bloomington Paint and Wallpaper because for 14 years he was the owner of a small company, Flying Fish Painting and Maintenance. He has painted the houses of several of the people in this room, I believe. He knows what it's like also to meet a payroll every Friday. John has lots of other interesting experience, and there are lots of stories that you would find interesting if you should ever have the occasion to read his book. But now he's going to tell us about why he wants to run for mayor of Bloomington. So please welcome John Linnemeier.
I appreciate that kind introduction. It makes me feel right at home. I was in India in January, and I was trying to figure out if I should run for mayor or not. I didn't want to be sort of a Ralph Nader kind of guy who gets a vote and then the other guy gets in. But I don't believe that I would do that. I feel very strongly that democracy around the world is not doing well, nor is it doing well in the United States. There's the Freedom House used to keep track of how many free countries there were in the world, and it looked like it was going to be inevitable. You know, there's 65, 68, 70, 80, 82, and then it evened off. It was 82, 71, 79, 78 started going down. And this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing, and I see it happening in America, and we've had problems in Bloomington as well. So I felt that, well, my wife asked me if I really wanted to be mayor, and I said, no, I don't want to be mayor, but if I don't, there are things that will not be said, and there are things that I sincerely believe will not be done, and so I feel an obligation. I feel an obligation to run. And so that's why I'm doing it. Also, when I was thinking about it, I feel like my entire life has been getting me ready in a strange way to be mayor. I feel like I have very, very unique experiences and attitudes that make me, I've been in government, and I've seen how it works, and more importantly, I've seen how it doesn't work. A lot of times, the reward system of government are not lined up with what the citizenry needs and wants. And I sort of like the fact, I hope you'll appreciate it, of having a person that has been in business. You know, I'm used to paying the right thing for things. When I see public money used poorly, or even worse, when it's being stolen, that bothers me deeply, because that money is holy. That's been entrusted to us. And when I see that being done in ways that I don't appreciate, don't like, well, I want to change that. That's one of the things I want to change. I mean, there are a lot of people, you might say that I'm a Democrat, liberal, progressive, whatever you want to call it, and I am. And there's certain reasons why I am that way. I believe that the Democratic Party traditionally has been for even playing field and helping people out and that kind of thing. So I'm a Democrat, but I am not just supportive of the Democratic Party, no matter what they say and no matter what they do. Bloomington is a one-party town, and so I'll say something blasphemous here. Sometimes I wish a Republican would win, just to clear things out, just to have a new start and so forth. But let's deal with the world the way it is. That's not very likely to happen. So any reform that's going to have to be made, any change that's going to have to be made, will have to be made within the Democratic Party. And I'm the kind of person that isn't afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to make changes. I'm an outsider, and I'm glad to be an outsider, even though I have worked politically very hard. My first campaign was in Mississippi. I registered voters for the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party in the mid-'60s. And that was not an easy campaign. You know, I know everybody now loves Martin Luther King and everything, but back in the day, that wasn't so true. Back in the day, you could get in some real trouble. And we did. And I was taking some time off from IU. I was working in the steel mill. And, you know, I heard about this thing down in Mississippi, and I wanted to get in the fight. So there were 500 of us. We went down there. We didn't have any money, hardly anything. But the black churches took us in, and they fed us, make sure we were okay. But that summer, there were people that got beat up. You know, the sheriff would see these outside agitators like us, and they'd take them into the jail, and they'd throw them in a jail cell, and they'd say, now you boys take good care of these Yankees up here. You know, there was no messing around. And there were 3 people that got killed down there. But in the end, we made a difference. We made a difference. Mississippi, black people in Mississippi can vote now. And it changed the South, and it changed this country. So that makes me believe that people, dedicated people, passionate people, can make a difference. I believe that right down to my bones. And I feel that we only have a certain amount of time in our life. We only have a certain amount of energy in our life. We only have a certain amount of resources in our life. We need to focus those on the places we can make a difference. That's the way I live my life. That's the way I've done everything. Like I worked in both, one time I crossed over and was a Republican. That's for Dick Lugar. I just think he's a heck of a guy. He did a great job as a mayor. You know, he's brilliant. I love him. He's one of the great men this state has produced. And, you know, I'd vote for him. I don't care what his party is. I think he's a great man and a great leader. And so, as I say, I'm not attached to a party. And in some ways, you could say, hey, that guy is really liberal. You know, he's in favor of the decriminalization of marijuana. He's in favor of a 12, 15-hour minimum wage. Yes, I am. I think it's crazy that marijuana, you know, that your children or you, someone can come break down the door, come in, arrest them, and ruin the rest of your life. That's crazy. And I want to change that. I want to do everything I possibly can to change that. And notice when I say decriminalization, that's not legalization. I realize legalization is much more difficult, but decriminalization is something we can go for, making it into a minor offense, you know, like $5, so that way you're, if you're a student, you don't lose your student aid, and your children don't lose the opportunity to be a military officer or physician or lawyer, things like that. So anyway, I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of, you know, I don't want to come in and say one thing to one group and one thing to another group, you know. I don't want to fly under false colors. I'm also in favor of 12, 15-hour minimum wage. And the reason for that is it troubles me that, and I know people who are working 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours a week, and people like that, you know, get up every day, they deserve to have some little house, you know? They deserve to be able to take their kids out for ice cream, you know? I mean, when I see Pam working at O'Malley's and the Dollar Tree and so forth, you know, I say, well, what's going to happen if you ever break your arm or something? She said, that just can't happen. Well, that's wrong, darn it. You know, and just because the rest of the United States feels like, you know, that, you know, these people ought to work for peanuts and so forth. I mean, if minimum wage were $1 and we wanted to take it to $2, there'd be economists that would say, look at all the jobs that are going to be lost. Well, so they would say it regardless of that. So I'm not buying that. So, I mean, they've done it in Seattle, they've done it in San Diego, they've done it in Santa Fe, they're trying to do it in Chicago, and we can do that here. And I don't think we should shirk from it. in terms of what's happening with malfeasance, you know, corruption in local government, that, I must say, that was another reason why I wanted to get in it, because one of the things that's attacking democracy that's very root is money in politics. And I wanted to prove that it doesn't take $100,000 to win a mayoral contest in Bloomington. And so I wanted to make a point of this, that I would only take $250 from anyone, and at the same time, I ask everyone that donates money to, I don't even have a donate button on my what do you call it, website. I don't have, but I've got one that says whistleblowers welcome. So I also ask every single contributor to affirm that they, you know, I mean, saying you're against corporate contributions, let's face it, that doesn't mean much. I ask them to affirm that they are not the owner of a company that does business with the city, nor are they the spouse of that person, nor are they the employee of that business, nor are they the spouse of that person that's employee of that business. I can't imagine what possible good can come from taking money from a source like that. None whatsoever that I can see. I mean, we gripe about lobbyists in Washington. Well, it's the same deal. So that means I'm running on a shoestring. I'm proud to run on a shoestring. That's the way I want to do it. The only thing I want is a little money for banners, a little money for flyers, a little money for yard signs. I think those are important. And we just got enough money in yesterday so we can get some more yard signs, because I think those are important. If you see people who you respect that have got a yard sign up, you're thinking, yeah, okay, maybe the guy's okay. So I do believe in that kind of thing. And the other thing I believe in is things like this, where I can get up in front of people, look them in the eye, and tell them what I think, without the intervention of, you know, a radio ad. You know, you won't get any junk mail from me. You won't get any radio ads. You won't get any ads in, you know, the HT or something like that. Because I want to do this person to person. And that's why talking in front of you right now, that's crucial. That's crucial, because I need people to see me, see what I'm all about, and say, hey, that Linnemeier's okay, you know. I know he's an underdog, blah, 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 but I think he's okay. Okay, furthermore, I told you I don't spend my time on things that I don't think I can win. And I do think I can win this. Let me give you the reasons. Okay, I'll let the cat out of the bag here. First off, there's no incumbent. Secondly, it's a off election, you know, there's no senator, congressman, and it's a primary. Low vote, maybe 7,000, something like that. Okay, my two opponents, you know, they're great guys, I like them, honest people, but their platform is very similar. It's okay, so they split the vote. Then I figure I need 3,000 votes. I need 3,000 votes. And where am I going to get those 3,000? People said, well, what's your base? You know, who are the people that you're counting on? Well, I'm counting on people that look at their utility bill and they say, this thing has doubled, you know? And then they find out that sewage hookups cost $500. And those things cost the city maybe 1,000, maybe 7,000, maybe 15,000. Well, I'm a business person. I don't believe in you know, every person should, you know, is in business, deserves to make a profit, but they don't need to get subsidized. We don't need to subsidize these ugly apartments downtown. So, you know, so we pay the bill. I'm counting on those people to vote for me, you know. I'm counting on my fellow veterans. I'm counting on people who've worked with me with peace things. I'm counting on painters. I'm counting on people that I painted their house that feel I'm okay. People like that. Let's see, what are my other points here? Okay, let me tell you another issue that I can promise you that everybody's going to waffle on. That's deer, okay? I can promise you that nobody's going to take a stand on it. That's not my way. I'm not going to kick the can down the road. I think I have a way that would work that might even satisfy most people. Okay, hear me out. I have a veterinarian friend, and I said, well, why can't you dart the deer and the female deer, not the males, and give them an ovarectomy, and there you go. I mean, people understand spaying and neutering their pets. You know, most people would buy. I mean, it's even more healthy for the deer, for goodness sake, but it still gets the population under control. Okay, so I read the deer, very elaborate deer, what do you call it, that report. And they come to that issue and they say, yeah, most people would support it and blah, 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 but the DNR will not let us do that. Okay, so I look around a little bit, and it turns out that there are other people, other towns that are doing exactly that. And I called up White Buffalo, and those guys are they're the gold standard of this kind of thing. I was talking to a young woman there. I said, well, what's going on? How come they can do it and we can't do it? And they said, well, they have a study. They're doing a study of the effect of what ovarectomies on female deer will have on the deer population. I said, a study? Well, heck, we can do a study. We got a biology department, and if they don't want to do it, we've got Ball State, and if they don't want to do it, we've got the vet department in Purdue. We can find somebody that'll do a study, and then maybe the DNR will buy off on it. That sounds reasonable to me. Of course, you don't know. Maybe they won't. So you introduce a little legislation. You say, you know, give us a special dispensation for urban deer in Bloomington, and, you know, you trade a few horses and whatnot and do it that way. All I'm saying is, let's not fiddle around with this thing. It's getting worse every year. It's going to be more expensive to deal with every year. And let's try a new angle. Okay, I want to shut up here because we want to have 10 minutes for things. But I just would like to compliment all you people here, because this is a wonderful town, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. And people in this room, a lot of them are, you know, movers and shakers. So a lot of you have had to do with making Bloomington what it is. And this is a city where Jews and Muslims get along. It's a city where Indians and Pakistanis get along. It's a town where Bantus and Watusis get along. It's a place where gays and straights get along. And that makes us, you should hold your head up when you walk out of here, because you've done a heck of a job. Because Bloomington is it's a beacon to the world, and we want to keep it that way. Okay, let's have some, give me some tough, yes, sir.
Well, you mentioned all these progressive ideas. You didn't mention one that is really uppermost in many people's minds, and that's the homeless population.
Yes.
In Bloomington, and the business people and the homeless people don't get along.
And the who and the homeless?
What?
The homeless and who else?
The business people.
Ah, great. Okay.
Solve that one.
Okay. I'll tell you one thing. I'm the only candidate that's been homeless, you know, more than once. I've been thousands of miles away from my home, dead broke. One time I was with my wife and our 1-year-old child. You know, down in the Canary Islands, we had to go 40 days without money. So I have walked in those shoes. I know those shoes. At the same time, I see that, it's funny, some people call them homeless, some people call them vagrants. You know, it depends on your point of view. And I understand both points of view. You know, for me, I don't mind going down at People's Park and shooting a bull with people. That's just my way. But I know there are a lot of people that don't feel that way. They feel threatened, you know, when they walk down Fifth Street. They feel uncomfortable, and they have a right to feel more comfortable. I like the fact that Cruzan has more walking policemen, things like that. I also feel that that everybody needs to contribute. You know, we're not the big people looking down on the little people and, you know, they gotta be grateful and so forth. You know, we're all equal people. I go over to the Shalom House, and, you know, there are a lot of people that are pretty out of it for one way or another, but about half of them are sitting around smoking cigarettes, shooting the bull. If I ran the Shalom Center, there's a nice sunny place out front, I'd say, let's make a garden. Let's make a garden that's so beautiful that the garden club is going to want to come over here and look at it 2 years from now. You know, let's contribute. Let's do something. When I have a party at my house, we have great parties if you ever want to come. You know, there are carpenters and professors and physicians and attorneys, but they're also homeless people because they got something to say too, you know. Okay, here's another thing. I forgot to get this point in. There's a certain kind of a person that feels like, you know, this is a good idea, so it doesn't matter how much money we spend on it. I'm totally opposed to that. So that makes me a conservative. Okay. I figure if you got $1 million, you go, how can I get the most good out of that money? You know, how can I squeeze the most good out of that thing? Okay, I could go on, but we've got some other questions. Yes, ma'am.
I value the arts in my community, both visual, performing, and literary, and I wonder what your view is on the city's relationship and support of the Western Chumley Theater and the arts community as a whole.
Great question.
Repeat the question.
What's that last one?
Repeat the question.
Okay, great question. Okay, you talk about money that's well spent. You know, when I see money being spent on the arts, I see people, lots of volunteers who are doing all kinds of things. You know, they don't need an arm and a leg. The bus chum down there is 25,000 short. We can do that. You know, these are programs that we should be helping out. And these things do good for our economy and so forth. I hear that Dr. Hadawi, the guy that started Volunteers in Medicine, you know, what a citizen. He came here after he went to some musical production. He could go anywhere in the United States, but he came here, he saw that, and he went, this is where I want to live. So these things they're not some luxury that we, you know, can't afford or anything. They're important, and I want to put emphasis on that and save a little money on kickbacks of cement, you know, things like that. We can find the money for these things.
Okay, one more question, Don. There's one right over here.
Yes.
Give us some top 3 priority areas to work on if you were elected mayor.
About what?
Your top 3 priority areas. If you got elected, what would your top 3 priorities be?
Well, okay, first off, I already told you how I'm running my campaign. I think the mayor should set an example by how they run their campaign. Okay, then once you get in, I want an audit, top to bottom. You know, what kind of, I mean, I hear they've improved this, but gee, mani, I'm not a CPA, but you know, you don't have a treasurer that does everything, you know, makes the purchases, reconciles the things, you know, then files the economic report. You know, nobody knows what the heck they're doing. You have to have different people doing these things, and then you have to have oversight at several layers. You know, you have to have people going in at random and saying, what is this couch from Kohl's, you know? What is this bunny rabbit from Walmart? Well, you know, what is this account here that's been set up, you know, this separate account? You should have people looking at those things, and it shouldn't just be the Indiana, what do you call it, Board of Accounts that discovers these things. It should be the departmental head, should be the mayor, and that's why, Kevin, you want to, this is what goes up on my door the first day that I'm in office, okay? Because I want people who blow the whistle to know that they're not going to lose their job, because it's frightening to do that. You know, you think you're going to get harassed and so forth. I'm sorry, I've gone on too long. Thanks, Drew.
Oh, how about a round of applause for John?
John, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. And
Oh, yeah, enjoyed it.
As a gesture of thanks, we would like, our Rotary Club would like to give you a Light Up Rotary coaster.
Cool,
There you go,
cool.
sir. Will you use it?
I'll put that right out there on the table.
All right.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much.